All right, my name is William Faucette, and I'm a Grand President with World Global Network, and I'm excited to be here presenting to you what I believe to be the greatest financial vehicle I'll see in my lifetime. Now, that's certainly a strong statement for me to make, given ideally that I plan on living a long time, God willing, but also given that I've been in the industry almost 27 years now. I've seen quite a bit. And I want to share with you just some of the analysis that I went through to choose to affiliate here with World. To give you a little background on myself, I did everything we're taught to do. I'm from here in the Rochester, New York area, where we're having our 2 months of summer right now. And I went to school, got good grades, went to a pretty good university, Stanford University out in California. And I like to say I came back with 2 pieces of paper, my diploma and the bill for my diploma. And that second piece of paper shaped my opportunities much more so than the first. Maybe some of you can relate to being tens of thousands of dollars in debt educationally. And then I came back, got my first job working at a local human services agency. And then I did what many people do at 21 when you get a credit card. I added consumer debt to it as well. And so very quickly, I had more month left at the end of my money. And I looked around me and I saw that the people I worked with were in the same circumstances, except they were older and had families to support. And so I had just gotten into personal development, and Anthony Robbins said something that stuck with me, which was a definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting to get something different from it. So I knew I had to do something different. I began to study financial independence. And I found something significant, that when you separate out athletes and entertainers, 9 out of 10 self-made millionaires got that way by owning businesses. So I resolved I was going to start a business. I began to do research, and I found 4 barriers why most Americans never act upon their desire to start businesses. You see, it's pretty interesting. Business ownership is now described as the new American dream. It's actually replaced home ownership. However, most Americans never act upon it. And the reason is because of 4 barriers: time, money, knowledge, and risk. Now, the average business startup costs over $80,000, takes 80 hours a week, and only has a 1 in 100 chance of reaching 10 years old. And so I didn't like those odds, as most Americans don't. I didn't act until more than 2.5 years later. That was when a friend asked me to take a look at this industry, direct or network marketing. I went out to a presentation just to tell her why she shouldn't get involved, and I was blown away by what I saw. So I got started there on the spot. I was terrible. If you looked up bad network marketer, you would have seen me in the dictionary. Yet that business paid me an income that, if I needed it to, could support me full time. And then very shortly thereafter, my career took off. I got into government. Ultimately, I rose to the 3rd position in our local government here, chief of staff. And I wasn't doing anything in my business at that time because the job was so demanding, yet the business continued to pay me. And so I concluded that this was the greatest industry in the world. I resolved if I ever found something with significant timing that seemed to have everything together, I would act upon it. And lo and behold, a few short years later, I was introduced to some gentlemen who had just founded a company. I decided to join with them, and that was in 2001. Over the next almost 15 years, we built that company from nothing to more than $120 million. And I worked my way up from, quote unquote, just a representative to top producer to the corporate team, and ultimately was CEO of that company for a while. But just a little over a year ago, I had decided to step away from that. I sold my shares in the company, and I knew that I was eventually going to do something else. I began to look for my next project, and I was blessed to have a fair number of contacts in the industry. And so typically when I was analyzing companies or opportunities, because I had people who were interested in starting something with me or having me run something that they had started. And so I was typically dealing with top corporate leadership, typically CEOs. And so I looked at dozens of companies, narrowed it down to 6, dealt with the CEOs of those 6, and was asked to take a look at World. And World was kind of a back burner company for me at the time. I really hadn't paid much attention to it. However, I agreed to meet with Fabio Galdi, the CEO of the company, just out of respect for the person who asked me to. Flew down to New York in February 7th actually, to meet with him, and saw enough that I did some more analysis, ultimately decided to forego all the other opportunities, to forego the potential opportunity to affiliate with World on the corporate side, to be a representative of this company. And that's how big I thought the opportunity was. And so as I go through the information that I saw and dissected, I really want you to consider where you are and where you'd like to go, because World is simply a vehicle to help you get from one to the other. So we're going to go through this information here this morning, but keep that in the back of your mind. It will help you make your goals and dreams come true if you take it seriously. So let's get right into the information. So first of all, this information that you see here comes from a gentleman by the name of Peter Drucker. He's a management guru, and he talks about convergency. That just means a number of key factors coming together. He defines these 7 key components. He says that any 1 or 2 is significant, but 7 of them together is unparalleled. In fact, it could present the opportunity of a generation or of even a lifetime. And these are many of the same things I looked at, and I'm going to share with you how they come together with World to present an unparalleled opportunity. But before I get to that, one of the things that so impressed me about World was the fact that the company is very concerned about doing things the right way. You see, in my tenure on the corporate side of this industry, one of the things I did before I became a CEO was I ran compliance for a company. And it's very important for the longevity of a company to make sure that its representatives have guidance about the proper way to present the opportunity, as well as to speak about its benefits. And so many companies hide this information, or they do the minimal amount required in order to make their opportunity legitimate. But World is the only company I know of that asks its representatives to put an income disclosure statement in its presentation. So that's significant. I want to play that statement for you just so you have a clear sense of where the company stands.
Income disclosure notice. Practicality dictates that everyone's results will vary, as we are all unique and different. Basically, it takes hard work to make a substantial income in this business, and some people will make no money at all. The earnings of a World Global Network partner will be 100% dependent upon their skills, work effort, commitment, leadership capabilities, and market conditions. Common sense would suggest that in most opportunities, one would find exceptional individuals performing well above average, while others perform under the average. World Global Network does not guarantee any level of income or your success. To see our full income disclosure, please visit our website at www.worldgn.com.
All right, so that's very unique in our industry. You certainly can take a look at the full income disclosure statement, but not only that the company has one, but also presents it so prominently was certainly a testament to the integrity of the company's leadership. So now let's get right into the meat of the presentation. So you see here, Bill Gates, a name that's very recognizable to all of us, richest person in the world, and he said it best. He said the secret of success is finding out where everyone's going to go and getting there before they do. And that is so important to our topic this morning. You have to get in front of trends. Peter Drucker said it, Bill Gates said it, I'm saying it. And you know, if our presentation was all about vinyl records or 8-track tapes, and some of you listening, I'm sure, don't even know what an 8-track tape is, but if that were the topic of the presentation, you would be logging out now. Why? Because the money's already been made in those arenas. Well, we are positioned in front of a very, very significant trend. It's called wearable technology. And I want you to understand, A, the power of our positioning, and B, the importance of the products that World Global has in this space. So first, let's look at wearable technology. I didn't know anything about this even just a few short months ago. I knew some of the products in it, but I didn't know it was a category. However, you can see here, leading business publications say some very significant things. The Wall Street Journal says that 111 plus million devices shipped in the wearable space in 2016. Now, Forbes says it's going to be a $34 billion market in just a few short years. And the quote I like the best is the one you see in the lower right. Time magazine says that wearable tech will change your life whether you like it or not. And that's very significant to me because I remember 10 years ago, a business colleague had just traveled to Europe. He came back and he told me a story about seeing a gentleman on a beach who was taking pictures with his cell phone and then emailing them back to himself. And I thought that was ridiculous. I said to the gentleman, who would take pictures with a cell phone? Why would you need to do that? The fact is cameras take better pictures. They're perfectly suitable. That's never going to make it. Well, fast forward to today. Here's my cell phone. It has about 5,000 pictures and 500 videos, right? So that is a space, smartphones, that changed my life even when I didn't want it to. And so it's so significant to me that experts are saying wearables are going to do the same thing, particularly when you look at the quote on the top right, which says that wearables are likely to make smartphones themselves obsolete. So hopefully this has given you an understanding of the scope of the market. Now let's look at the World Global product, and it's very, very telling to me that we're able to lead with the product. There is a true retail market. There is a demand for our product. So let's look at our entry in the wearables market. So that's such a powerful video. It's powerful for a few reasons. First of all, because of the information it conveys. Secondly, because of the way it conveys it. Our corporate leadership is Italian. They bring that Italian style, that flair, that design, which I'll talk about in a few moments, to our product line. So our wearable entry is called the Hilo. It's unprecedented in the space. It truly is a category creator. As you see here and saw in the video, it's a game changer. It does many of the things that others in the space do, but a fair amount more. It certainly measures your heart rate, your calories, your steps, but it goes beyond that to blood pressure, EKG. How unique is that? Sleep quality, emotions, your fatigue, and then two other significant features that I want to speak about individually. The first is a guardian feature. So let me give you a sense of how that works. My mother has one of our devices, and as it measures, you can set parameters on the device that would then alert you as the wearer for what you've described as an abnormal reading. So for example, a normal heart rate is maybe 60 to 90. Let's say if your heart rate is 95 or 100, you can set it to alert you. So that's significant enough, but you also can set it to alert others. So my mother, being 75 and living alone, she actually has a Hilo. It can alert me if it detects anything that's abnormal. And that's certainly significant given, as I said, she lives alone, but it's even more significant because my second mother was my godmother, someone I was very close to. And unfortunately, she lived alone as well. And she passed away over a weekend. We didn't even realize until 2 days later. They believe she passed on Saturday, and we didn't find out until Monday when we couldn't reach her. And so I sometimes wonder if she had had a Hilo, how perhaps we could have avoided that negative outcome. So you certainly can monitor those people that you care about. And then the second function the Helo has is a panic button. Now, in this day and age, you always want your loved ones, whether they be your spouse or significant other, your children, again, folks like me with elderly relatives, you certainly want them to have peace of mind. And so if my wife or my mother is any place and just isn't comfortable, they can press a button on the Helo, and the Helo will send a message to anyone they've defined, in this case me. It not only will send an SOS message, it'll also send GPS coordinates as well as directions to get to their location. So again, very significant in this day and age and time, the fact that, you know, the Helo can be, in some cases, a lifesaver. And so those are the direct benefits of the Helo. We have many indirect benefits as well. And one of those comes in the form of germanium stones. Now, germanium stones are actually plates that you attach to the band. And the idea for this came when our CEO, Fabio Galdi, was traveling. He told me that he stumbled across germanium, and because the person who was actually telling him about it was so passionate, he actually bought a germanium band. Now that band, all it had was germanium in it, and it cost more than the Helo with all the other features of the Helo, but that gave him the idea to actually put germanium, you know, associate it with the Helo, and you can see why here on this slide. It is an element, and it does a number of things in our bodies. Those who are focused on health and wellness know about it, because its impact on the body, one of the biggest things it does is increases blood circulation, and that has a number of benefits, some of which you see here: reducing stress, reducing muscle stiffness, pain, and also just balancing your body. So the germanium is very significant addition to the Helo, and will become more so over time, because in the very near future, we're going to have some enhancements to the Helo that will allow us to actually measure blood oxygen level. And that's one of the things that germanium does. It increases blood oxygen level, which again is a significant health benefit. And so there are both direct and indirect benefits of the Helo. But one of those that is so exciting, it's one of the reasons I got started here. It has many folks inside and outside of World Global taking notice and waiting for it to come to fruition, and that is the launch of a program that will allow the Helo to measure blood glucose levels. Now, if you're at all familiar with this arena, you know that anyone who has any kind of condition, they're diabetic, they're pre-diabetic, or any of the number of chronic conditions that would cause them to need to measure their blood sugar, they typically do it by pricking their finger and taking blood. And that can become anywhere from an annoyance to, you know, almost impossible to do over time in certain individuals. So it is very significant that in the near future, we will actually offer this. I met with Fabio and a board member before I chose to get started with World, and one of the things that they shared was that they're seeing significant accuracy. They're measuring the traditional test. They're in comparison, our technology measures to 98% accuracy. That means that their testing is showing within 2% percentage points of a normal blood test, and also that they're ahead of schedule. So we have indicated that this will be available by fourth quarter, and we are definitely on pace to make that a reality. In fact, we were very excited this week to see that the company released an application that will allow the 500 people that they select for their trial effort to actually begin to do these measurements. So that is the final stage. It's in process now, and you know, we're very excited about the advent of that. But in addition, we have a number of enhanced features of the Hilo that are coming very soon. Now you see that glucose has a patent pending on it, and so that means that our technology, our measuring factors will be protected. There are others beginning to look at this, and I think it's very significant that just a few short weeks ago, Apple Computer was kind of forced to come out and acknowledge that they were looking at glucose measuring as well, but they cautioned that they're years from a commercially viable application. And so here we are, potentially months from it, and we have protected our technology. But that's not the only area that we are looking into or will have in the near future. You can see here, and as I said earlier, blood oxygen level measuring will come in the near future, and that will help us demonstrate the positive impact of germanium. And if you look at, glucose testing and blood oxygen level testing, those in many people's minds kind of target the same category of people. So those who perhaps have chronic conditions or are concerned about their health. Now we know that comes at any age. In fact, in my 30s, I was diagnosed with a heart condition that I was totally blessed to have go away. But at that time, I was measuring my heart rate and blood pressure with a blood pressure cuff. If I had the Hilo, I could have done it. But generally speaking, people think, well, yeah, but folks who are concerned about that are maybe Gen Xers or baby boomers. But how about being able to monitor blood alcohol level? Now, when you picture that, it gives you a totally different category of individual. You're not thinking of necessarily the Gen Xer or baby boomer, although they would be concerned about it as well. But you're probably thinking of the millennial who goes to a happy hour. Now, as Fabio pointed out to me, there are lots of people who just want to know about the alcohol, the impact of alcohol on their body. But the point is that this brings a significantly different market niche. And so you can find that there is something that nearly everyone is concerned or passionate about that the Hilo does. We have fertility prediction coming soon, so that if you want to get pregnant or not, right, the Hilo will help you in achieving your goal. Flu detection and some other diagnostics on pulse that are very popular in Asia, as well as a mosquito shield. So these are the things that the company is directly working on, but I'm extremely excited because there are a number of things that are being worked on indirectly. And I want you to get this point. So the best analogy I can use is to the iPhone. Now, I showed you my phone earlier. It's an iPhone 7. But when the iPhone first came out, it was a joke to me. I used to, in fact, make fun of it. I had a BlackBerry, and my friends who had iPhones, I used to tell them that they were trying to run their businesses with a toy. And the reason they were passionate about the iPhone, the reason why they did not give it up, even though it was a bad phone, was because there were about 800 apps by the end of the iPhone's first year. And those apps had things that those folks and others were passionate about. Now, if you fast forward to today, there are over 2 million apps that are in that same category. They have things that people are passionate about, in fact, can't do without. And somewhere along the line, somewhere in that process, I became a convert for the same reason. So here's the relevance. When I met with Fabio, he talked about the fact that in his mind, the Hilo project had two phases. The first was the hardware. Now, we've shown you our entry in this marketplace. It's very significant. We're already on our second generation of the product. We had the Hilo Classic that came out first. Now we're on the Hilo LX. There'll be a future generation. So we're committed to keeping the hardware on the cutting edge. But he indicated that equal to the hardware was the software, for the same reason that Apple, actually was able to dominate the smartphone market. Apple and Google dominate that market. What do they have in common? They have millions of applications that can run on their device. Well, in May, World Global announced the advent of an app store that will allow us to do that same thing. There are now over 200 developers working on applications, everything from a lie detector to gamification of health and wellness, so that the Hilo will take all the inputs that it can garner and then assign a wellness score. And you and I then, with our respective wellness scores, we can create competitions that include not only ourselves, but others as well. So it kind of makes health and wellness fun, right? So those are just a couple of the many applications. As Fabio indicated, there are, you know, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands that he would never think of, but there's someone out there passionate about it, and they can develop an application that will run on the Hilo that people will use. And the most significant thing about that to you and I is not only the value it'll create as users of the Hilo, but see, we've moved now, if you choose to affiliate with us, to the producer side. We're not just consumers, we're producers. And so we're able to get paid, because as people utilize those applications, they download them, they make in-app purchases, we're able to earn commission. So very significant in terms of the future of the Hilo, and even the present, as you can see on the slide, with everything we've talked about, there's no comparison between us and others in the space. You can see our features and price point are compared here. Now, as great as the Hilo is, I talked about the power of the germanium as well, and so we market the Hilo and germanium and a few other features, colored band kit, we market those together, and so we call that a box set. But in the near future, you'll be able to purchase the Hilo separately, as well as those things separately, and that'll really show the value, because it'll be priced even more cheaply, if that's a way to say it, is in compared to others in the market space. So we're very excited about our positioning in the market, well within the competitive range, and our feature set being second to none. And because of all that, we are garnering unprecedented attention. We've been featured on local, regional, and even national news stories. You can see an example of some of those on this slide. We also were featured at the Consumer Electronics Show. Now, if you're not familiar with that, it's the most popular show of its type. More than 100,000 people attend, a who's who in technology. And you see in the picture on the bottom one company called Toshiba, $50+ billion company. The reason that their picture is on the slide is because World Global and Toshiba are partners, and what they're able to do is now, because Toshiba manufactures for World Global, we are able to leverage their technology and credibility. Now, Toshiba vetted the company very significantly. They went through a tremendous amount of analysis. Originally, they wanted to buy World, and when Fabio Galdi said no, they came back and said, okay, well, we'll partner with you. We make a chipset, and we want you to put that in our device. In fact, we want you to be the first customer to put that in a device. And so they displayed the Hilo at the Consumer Electronics Show. It was the only product that they had in their booth. So that's exciting to me, because as much due diligence as I could do, I can't do as much as a $50 billion company. So if it was okay for Toshiba, it's probably okay for me as well. And then finally, in the lower right, you see a gentleman who had a very, very significant and positive outcome because of the Hilo. Now, we don't claim that the Hilo is a medical device. It's simply an alarm. It can alert you to any factors that you may need to pay attention to. But this gentleman and a number of others have anecdotal stories where they believe the Hilo made a profound difference in their life. In fact, in some cases, they believe, their words, that it saved their life. So this gentleman was someone who actually put the Hilo on. He was excited. He took a measurement. It seemed way off. He was disappointed, packed it up, and was intending to ship it back to the company. His wife came home. She put the Hilo on just to test it out. Her reading was accurate. So she pointed that out to her husband, said, you know, you might want to go get checked out. Well, he did. He went to a medical professional, and within a few days was actually in open heart surgery, because they had found 2 blockages in his heart. And so, again, while the Hilo is not a medical device, it certainly alerted him to the fact that he needed some attention. So again, we're very proud to represent World Global with the Hilo product and the power of what it does. And all of that taken together has created significant momentum and growth for the company. Now you see here, this chart shows that despite being on the market for less than a year, we are now the 4th largest player in terms of sales in the wearables market. And when I met with Fabio Galdi, he confirmed to me what this slide says, that the company has nearly 1 million units on order. And he said to me, listen, you know, we're going to have those before the end of the year. One delivered in June, another 500,000 delivered in September. And if we need to order more by the end of the year, we will. We're just going to stay in tune with the leaders in terms of how sales are going. But just by virtue of moving that product, it will move us to the #2 company in the wearables market. Now, I want you to think back to, which is that this is a $34 billion market by 2020. It doesn't take a whole lot of $34 billion to be a whole lot of money, and a whole lot not only for World, but for those of us who are serious, who are on the producer side again, and are working to help grow the company. So imagine as we grow and we move from the 5% of the market we have now to 10, 15, maybe even 20% of the market, imagine the kind of income that will generate. And this is just on one of the World products. Now, another one that is also significant is called BioZen. Now, BioZen is simply a computer chip that looks like a sticker. And what BioZen does is eliminates electrosmog. You might wonder, what in the world is electrosmog? Electrosmog is just a catchy name for low-level radiation that most devices emit. So I'm doing this presentation in my home office. I've got a laptop, a camera, a speaker, a microphone, another monitor, a third monitor for our security system, a hard drive, a television. All those are devices that are emitting low-level radiation, and because of that, I've put BioZen on them. And if you want to get a sense of what this can do, let me give you an example. I have a good friend whose in-laws have a radiation meter, and they have one because they have a cell tower in their backyard, so they like to just make sure they're not getting bombarded with radiation. Well, he went around his house with that meter just to see if this is real, and he said he was amazed at the devices in his house that were indeed emitting radiation that potentially could be harmful, but he was blown away. He was in fact horrified to find that the single biggest emitter of radiation in his home was a cordless phone that was on his nightstand, literally 6 inches from his pillow. And so obviously he's a customer of BioZen now. He sees the power of it. And this also will be very significant for us in the future. Now you see there in the picture on your slide that the BioZen stickers on the outside, you can see that same thing. If you can see the BioZen through my phone case, the green sticker there, it's on my phone as well. But in the very near future, we won't need to put it on the outside of our phones, because in the next month or so, World Global is going to come out with a phone called the InFolio that will be the first to have the BioZen technology embedded. So if you think, well, what's the significance of that? Read the fine print from your cell phone maker, and I almost guarantee it has some kind of disclaimer in there that says, don't put the cell phone directly to your head. Well, it's kind of ridiculous when you think about it. There's really no other easy way to speak on it, but we won't have to worry about that with the InFolio, and we also won't have to sacrifice anything, because our InFolio is designed by the same person who designed this phone right here, the iPhone 6 and 7. This is the 7. And this gentleman actually used to work for Apple, and now he works for World, and he's designing our phone, state-of-the-art, cutting-edge technology. It has the profile of an iPhone 7, but the screen size of a 7 Plus, because the screen goes all the way to the edge. So we're very, very excited about that phone coming. And again, it is an example of the company's commitment to keep us positioned on the cutting edge. So let's look now at company leadership. Management and leadership is one of those 7 key factors. And meeting with Fabio Galdi, as I said earlier, was one of the 2 reasons I chose to affiliate with World. See, one of the things I look at when I want to know what someone is likely to do is I look at what they've done in the past. And Fabio has been a true leader in business. You can see all the things that he's done. I won't read them to you because you can look at them yourself, but he's been a category creator and a market leader in the past, and he believes that World is going to be his greatest accomplishment yet. And the other thing that was significant to me, and I told him this, was that he is actually also a scientist. He's the inventor of the Hilo product. And so in my mind, he's not just, quote unquote, a Steve Jobs type of figure, but he's a Steve Wozniak. Now, if you're not familiar with Steve Wozniak was Steve Jobs' partner. And Steve Wozniak was the gentleman who actually invented the Macintosh so that Steve Jobs could then go out and market it. So I believe that Fabio Galdi brings the best of both. You know, he has the savvy and strategy and marketing genius of Steve Jobs with the scientific background of Steve Wozniak. And because of that, and the leadership team he's put together, the company has already received significant recognition. You see many of it here ranked as a top opportunity, a company with significant momentum. Fabio's been ranked as a top CEO. But one of the things that really stood out to me was what you see in the top left, or the middle left, I should say, and that is the DSN Top 100. Now, DSN stands for Direct Selling News. It's like the Wall Street Journal of the direct selling industry. And every year they rank the top 100 companies in the world. And having run a company that was on that list, I know how hard it is to both get there and stay there. And for the last 2 years, World Global has been ranked on that list. And here's the thing that truly caught my attention. World just launched North America last September. So the company has not even been in the United States and North America for a year, yet it's been on that list for 2 years. So we're truly just getting started here. I believe we're just getting started worldwide, but particularly in North America. And for those of you who've been in this industry, you've heard the phrase ground floor opportunity, and I always kind of cringe when I hear it, because most people who say it have no idea that that ground floor opportunity they're getting excited about typically comes with a ground floor company. And the ground floor opportunity never gets out off the ground. In fact, it usually collapses into the basement with the company. Well, we have the best of both worlds, a ground floor opportunity without the risk of a ground floor company. As this company moves toward its goal of being first $1 billion and then a multi-billion-dollar company, we're about 150 million now. You can see the level of growth that will happen for the company, not only in North America, but worldwide. We'll need several times the number of leaders, and we'll have several times the top income earners as we grow towards several times our revenue. So that's very exciting. And a final component in terms of the excitement level from the corporate side is that we also are a public company. And we're traded over the counter right now. Everyone should do their own due diligence, but this was impressive to me, particularly so because, as you can see here, this slide shows that less than a year ago, the company was trading under $1. When this slide was created, it was trading at nearly $16. Now, as of yesterday, it's trading more than $22. So again, do your own due diligence. But the fact is that, you know, somebody believes in this company and where it's going. And that's something that certainly gets me excited, let alone the opportunity, you know, to become an investor in the company itself. And Fabio has indicated the possibility of leaders being able to earn ownership in the company as opposed to just purchase it. So all of that is a very real opportunity. But the fact that our company is available globally is incredible to me. Now, I've been with a company that expanded internationally. In fact, for some of the time I led it, and I'll be the first to acknowledge that we failed more than we succeeded. And so to have the opportunity from the comfort of my home to actually send someone to a website, have them click on a drop-down menu and see 195 countries. Now, I read an article where a gentleman claimed to have visited every country in the world, and he defined that as 197 countries. So the fact we're available in 195, I would tell you probably the two we're not, you don't want to go to. But the great thing is that this is real. You know, you can actually have someone, as I did with someone in Saudi Arabia just a few days ago, go click on their country, enter their address, and then the company will drop ship directly to their door our products. I don't know anywhere else in the industry where that exists. I've had product literally sit in customs for weeks until someone felt like signing a form. And that's typically the reality of global expansion. So the fact that World has figured that component out is very exciting, and it truly makes the potential of this unparalleled. And so then the final component that you really want to look at is the team and compensation. And this slide shows our master distributors, Nat and Shanita Purana Putra. Nat and Shanita have been with the company just over a year, and they've brought a number of strategies, tools, and experience, literally decades of experience. Shanita is recognized as the highest earning female in the history of network marketing. So the fact that they did their due diligence just as I did and chose to affiliate here is significant. And you can see that the results of them being here and what they've brought is being borne out, not just for them, but for many others as well. This shows the business at home top earners list, and this list shows that there are 11 world global representatives on it, including 4 in the United States in less than a year. And again, that's very significant, but it's just the beginning because they blazed a trail. We're all following in their footsteps, and the systems that work for them can work for you as well. So let's take a look at how you can get started in and benefit from World Global. So 3 steps to start. First, you want to become a part of the team simply by purchasing product. And you know, I certainly recommend being a product of the product. You can buy our box set, as I indicated earlier, which is one Hilo device, but I certainly recommend getting started at least the family pack level. Now, the family pack includes 5 Hilos for the price of 4, so you're bringing your cost per unit down to about $50 or so, and you're also getting additional band packs. So the Hilo comes with colored bands, with the option of colored bands, and you can switch them out. It's kind of a fashion statement, and it also attracts attention. People see it and they ask about it. So it's a business building tool as well. But the biggest reason to get the family pack, in my opinion, is number one, because as the name suggests, you have family that you care about. So I mentioned when I first started that my mother has a Hilo, my wife has a Hilo, and I ordered a family pack to be able to give them those devices. Now, it's also going to give you some additional income streams as well, but I think the key thing is the value it provides, the ability to get it to your loved ones, and then the third part is you're building a business, and so you want to have a little bit of inventory. Everyone who got started with me, who ordered Hilos, I gave them one from my family pack and then just told them replace it when theirs comes in so that they can get started right away. And so family pack is significant, premium pack even more so, that adds another Hilo to the program. And then you also want to have BioZen. Now, I actually got the BioZen 30, as you see here. In fact, I've put them all over our home, and you want to use the product to see and understand how it works. And I'll tell you, in my experience, I actually ended up purchasing 3 family packs because the business was growing fast and I wanted to have inventory. But when you refer people to purchases, just as you purchase something, as you see on the bottom, there is a fast start bonus. So for example, if you refer someone, they purchase a family pack, you'll earn 10% or $135 simply for making that referral. So the first step is to purchase product, and through doing so, you become a member of the team. The second step, though, is to make some referrals to encourage other people to do the same thing. Now, for those of you who have never been in our industry, understand you're already doing what we do. The difference is you're not getting paid. And if you don't believe me, if you say, well, I don't want to, I'm not a salesperson, great, me either. I crash and burn in sales, but I recognize I'm always telling people about good services. For example, I saw a gentleman up the street and it looked like he was doing something with a neighbor's pool. I asked him, does he work on pools? He said, yes. Long story short, he ended up working on our pool. Did unbelievable work. My neighbor next door now is getting a pool put in, and I already told him about this guy because he's had a positive impact on my family, and so I wanted to share it with my neighbor. Now, if this gentleman had a referral program or a commission program, well, that would then be the equivalent of what we do in World. So understand you're already referring people to information, you're just not getting paid. Now, your second goal here is to refer some people who see what you see and choose to purchase product as well. And we build two teams. I guess we could call them 1 and 2, but we're visual people, so we call them left and right. You're building a left team and a right team. And when your person gets started on your left and on your right and purchases a family pack as well, you're going to get a 20% commission on all the sales that the smaller team does. So again, you have two teams. One's going to be smaller than the other. You're going to earn 20% of everything that that team generates. And if you don't understand it, that's okay. We assign you a mentor who walks you step by step, not only through getting started, but through getting successful and through achieving the path to your goal. So first step is buy a pack. Second step is refer a few people. When you do that, we promote you to the position we call team builder. Third step is then to help those people do the same thing you did. So you referred to, now you want them to refer to. And when that happens, they become team builders, you become a team developer, and the team developer position is critical because it opens up the career path in World Global. So you can earn additional levels of income, you can get a benefits package. There are a number of benefits that accrue to people who have hit at least team developer. One example you see here at the bottom right, a pretty significant car. And just this past weekend, the company awarded supercars, and by supercars, I mean not just super cars, but supercars like Rolls Royce and 2 Lamborghinis. So 3 cars they gave away, and they not only gave the cars, which I've seen done before. I was part of a company that gave a pretty significant car to top leaders, but we would pay monthly. And so the leaders had to keep working so that they can ensure their car would get paid for. Here, they gave them not only the keys to the car, but the title to the car. The company paid cash. So in other words, they were rewarding them for what they'd done, not for what they'll do in the future. I don't know anyone that's doing that in the industry. That's just one of the benefits that you get as you advance to higher levels in the company. Another is this watch. This is my president's watch. It's a watch you get for hitting one of the significant positions in the company. And so in the past, I've been a part of companies, and a particular company that I thought did a very good job rewarding people. World is unprecedented. In fact, so much so that in that old company, people used to joke with us as the leadership team, you know, what are you going to do to top this when we would give out the cars? And we joke and say, I don't know, maybe private jets. And we'd laugh because it seems so ridiculous. No one would ever do that. Well, the program that the company announced after the supercar program is in fact a private jet program. So you can advance to higher levels and actually qualify for unlimited usage of a private jet. So we're very excited for that. We're all running for it. And this slide shows a lot of different ranks, a lot of different incomes. And I don't want you to worry too much about that. Just understand, once you hit that team developer, you could advance to higher levels of earning with your mentor's help. And you're going to advance to higher levels of earning as you move right in the slide you see here. And so just to give you a sense that this is possible, right now I'm a grand president in the company. I did that in a couple of weeks from getting started. I've only been with the company for 3 months. My sponsor, who's the second reason I got started here in World Global, his name's Mike Sims. He's a president millionaire. That's where you can qualify for the private jet. And his sponsor, Ramasio Fulcher, is a double president millionaire. And his sponsors, Chad and Natita Chong, are grand president millionaires. So we have people at all of the top levels in the company who are here to help and mentor you as long as you're serious. And now for those of you who have experience, I'm sure you're saying, well, this is great so far, but how about residual? And again, if you're new to the industry, you're not familiar with what residual is, simply put, it's getting paid over and over for doing something once. Best example is Elvis Presley. He's been dead for a number of years, if you believe that he truly is dead. But Elvis actually earned more last year than he earned in the last year of his life. That's unbelievable. It's the power of residual. It's one of the biggest benefits of our industry. And World Global has a very, very significant application that creates residual income. It's called the loyalty membership. So the first thing to understand is we are concerned about providing value. And your overhead in our business is $59. Those of you who have been in the industry for a while know how significant that is. Having a monthly overhead of less than $100 is very rare. In the companies I've been in, it was typically a $300 to $500. It wasn't a requirement, but it's just what you ultimately had to do to make sure that you stayed qualified. You don't have to do that in World. $59, but you get some significant benefit as well. So here's the value. First, you earn commissions. Any sales that are done, they accrue and follow you for your career in World Global. You also get all the enhanced monitoring features. They typically cost $12 per helo or per device. Well, you can monitor 5 helos just through your loyalty membership. So that's a $60 value that is included. You get additional storage. You also get a protection plan. And again, you see here, typically it'll cost you $100 or more. And so if you have any issue with your helo, you can send it back and they'll replace it, no questions asked. But probably the most significant factor in terms of value is the fact that you invest $59 and the company gives you back 75 loyalty points for every 59. Now, what's a loyalty point? It's simply a dollar that can be spent in the World Global store. So it can be spent on anything that World Global sells. And you can do the math and say, wait a minute, I'm paying them 59, they're giving me back 75. It's just what the company does to create value. So think about it. I mentioned that we're on the second version of the helo. In the future, there'll be a third version. How about having loyalty points so you can purchase that new helo for free? Imagine if Apple or Samsung or someone else had that on their cellular devices. Well, again, when the Infolio comes out, same thing. You can use your loyalty points to purchase the device. Now, in addition to that, the company has what in effect is a savings or dividend program. All the sales that your smaller team generates, the company will take 1%, it'll save it for a year, and then pay it after you've paid for your loyalty membership for 12 months. They pay it directly to you. I can tell you, they call that a money box. My money box has far more than what the loyalty membership costs, the $708, after just 3 months. So this is incredible value. It's why the company has better than 80% retention on the loyalty membership. And the great thing is the $59 is commissionable. It includes a sales volume of $30. Now remember, we talked about 20% of that. You can do that math and see $6. So for every person who has the loyalty membership on that smaller team, you're going to earn $6. Plus, you're also going to get $6 for everyone you refer to the company regardless of which team they're on. So very exciting, very significant income stream, one of the best implementations of residual that I've seen in nearly 27 years in the industry. And so to wrap up here, I want to just make sure you understand the power of the team. I mentioned that we have a number of people committed to your success. This puts faces with the names I gave you. Mike Sims, my sponsor, President Millionaire, Ramasio Fulcher, Double President Millionaire, Chad and Natita Chong, Grand President Millionaires, Chanita and Nat, Purana Putra, Grand President Millionaires and Master Distributors. All of them are working on your behalf. If you're serious, they'll be serious and they will match your commitment, as will I and the other members of the team, the person who invited you here. So the only thing missing is your work ethic and commitment. So in closing, what I saw is a company that truly is a category creator, no competitors, doing some things that haven't been done in the industry. It doesn't cost you anything to join. You only have to qualify once. They don't charge you back on the loyalty program. There's no receiving product on a monthly basis. They're also in 195 countries seamlessly, and best of all, they are just getting started. So after previewing all of this, if you've seen an opportunity to have, be, or do more, I encourage you to get started. And this says it best. The positioning truly is the key. You want to get started now because the people that you're thinking about, and I guarantee there are people running through your mind now, your job is not to sell or convince. Your job is just to use our system to share information. But some of those people are going to be interested in partnering with us. And the question is, will you benefit as they come here? Or ultimately, will they benefit as you come here? The only difference is time. So if you've seen an opportunity, I encourage you to get started right away. In closing, I want to tell you a quick story. I've done this presentation or one like it for literally thousands of people. In fact, I've done the presentation thousands of times. And generally speaking, people get it. They're typically nodding their heads. They understand what is being conveyed. And one gentleman was more excited than anyone I'd ever met. It was just he and I meeting. And so he stopped me before I got to what I just went through, the money available. And he said, I'm in. That's it. Don't say anymore. I'm ready to get started. And so I had to ask him as he was filling out the paperwork why he was so excited. And he told me a story. He told me about a gentleman who came to see his father when he was 8 years old. This gentleman was talking about something new and different, something that had never been done before, something that also was a category creator, and something that he believed would revolutionize the world. He was trying to get his father to invest in his company. And he stayed trying to convince him for a couple of hours. Ultimately, he said, I remember like it was yesterday, him telling my father, if you just give me a couple $100, I'm telling you, your life will be changed. Well, his father was a traditional guy. He didn't believe in that, and so he sent him on his way. And so, of course, I fell into the trap because he was doing such a good job telling the story. And so I said, well, who was the guy? He said, well, that gentleman, his name was Joseph Wilson. And just before Joseph Wilson came to see my father, he had met a man by the name of Chester Carlson. And just before Chester Carlson and Joseph Wilson met, Chester Carlson had invented a process called xerography. And Joseph Wilson and Chester Carlson took Joseph Wilson's company, then called Haloid, and they turned it into the Xerox of today. He said, if my father had just had the vision to see what Joseph Wilson was trying to tell him, he said, not only would I be taken care of, not only would my children be taken care of, not only would my grandchildren be taken care of, but my grandchildren's grandchildren would have no financial worries. And then he looked me in the face and he said, I'm not willing to make the same mistake my father made. So I say to you, it doesn't take vision to see something after the fact. We all know Microsoft's a big company. There's no value now in trying to get involved because it's already happened. There is value and opportunity in positioning yourself, just as Bill Gates said at the beginning, getting in front of that trend. You've been offered that opportunity here today. You've been offered tomorrow's news today. The question is not whether it's going to happen. The question is, where will you be and how will you benefit when it does? So if you see opportunity, get back to the person who invited you here. We do this presentation 4 times a week and at least once on Saturday. So I look forward to seeing you back on our next presentation, not as a guest, but as a representative with guests of your own. Thank you very much. God bless and have a great day. Okay, guys, as I stop our recording, we are